Hello and welcome to the second episode of the BRAINCAST. I'm Andrew.
I'm Anna.
And we're going to talk about positivity today.
I'm gonna start with a joke about positive people. Good?
Yeah, that's it.
So, it's really cold now, night in Auschwitz. And obviously all the Jews are shivering and it's just horrible. And the Nazi comes to the barracks and says, it's Christmas and I thought about everything and I think you should all go home. And there's a Jew in the corner, in the back, and it says, no, we don't celebrate Christmas. Would you like it?
Yeah, it's very appropriate for our times.
I was just clarify I'm a Jew, So I can make jokes about Jews and sharks and other stuff.
Well, I think it clarifies you to have interesting opinions on things.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be controversial. I think there's a lot of negativity associated with people who are joking about themselves and their situations, which it can be a positive thing. Yeah. It's an emotive subject, as is what we've both been through over the years. And sometimes it seems to never end. And other times it feels like we don't have enough time.
To do what?
Many things.
You didn't say it's going to be that depressing.
Well, that's what I bring to the table.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you want to talk about yourself?
Well, I feel like I talk about myself too much. It'd be nice to talk about you more.
No, I think you should talk about yourself. This is my podcast.
Oh, okay. And my name's Andrew. I had a brain tumour. Yeah. It was diagnosed after I had a brain hemorrhage on a train. And that was pretty sucky. Wasn't much fun.
Yeah.
Nearly
When was that?
8 years ago now.
So like me.
Yeah. Same kind of timeline in a way.
That's so romantic.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was quite depressing. And it was close to the end a few times. Which feels very strange to say now. Because it feels like things are so different now. And
how did it change?
I was thinking that I wouldn't even get to this point. So.
How was the surgery?
Scary. I didn't know what to expect. And my neurosurgeon kept telling me, well, it's fine, I do these. You shouldn't be scared, I do these all the time. And then I would...
That's the most strange thing to say to patients, honestly. Isn't it?
Well, yeah, because it's not a routine thing for me. I don't go in and have brain surgery all the time.
Yeah.
And there's always, they tell you about all the risks. Like you could just die, and death is at one risk, which it's not one.
That's fun. How long was your surgery?
I think it was about 4 hours. It's relatively quick, but I don't know. Could have been longer. I wasn't really awake.
Oh yeah.
I could have been awake, but I was misdiagnosed.
I have a neurosurgeon who does awake craniotomy. He's very cocky, so... Do you think neurosurgeons are psychopaths?
I think a lot of them are. I don't think all of them are.
Do you think they enjoy this? Like, they enjoy the operation? It must be so stressful for them.
Well, I think they do enjoy it because having had the fortune of speaking to them, or at least a section of that strange population. They do seem to enjoy it. And I do think most of them are on the spectrum of psychopathy.
100%. I want to speak to one in Czech. In Czech. Get prepared for that. I can speak two languages. I'm a big girl. Yeah.
Well, I haven't mastered that yet, even though I should.
You're pretty good in German.
Yeah, but I should be fluent in German.
He speaks really good Czech also.
All the swear words.
Yeah, really good Czech.
All the useful words and phrases.
Czech is so useless, honestly. I don't know what's the point of that language. It's so difficult, and I haven't mastered it myself.
Well, I think you've mastered up to a certain age level. Not a less sophisticated Czech, maybe.
I left Czech when I was 18, not 20.
You just say ty vole.
Ty vole.
That's your level.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's probably at my level's under that, so.
Yeah. So tell us more then.
What do you want to know?
Well, when you had your surgery and so on.
Well, it was just extremely stressful because I was having all these horrible seizures from the hemorrhage and from this big brain tumor.
I just found it funny that when you had that massive surgery, your dad was talking about
politics. He's arguing about politics.
Your dad was talking about politics.
Because he couldn't cope with it emotionally. I think that's quite common. I think your parents are similar. Very different but similar. They're very emotional, but they're trying to keep their spirits high.
Yeah.
Whereas some people just try to completely block off what's going on.
Yeah. It must be difficult for parents. I always think about it because it's your child, you know. And even if they're our age, it's still a child. So for my parents, they just, it was just really hard for them. Yeah. Let's talk about positivity.
Well, we know people who are not necessarily helpful to be around because they're quite negative-minded. In every situation, even if it is a very positive situation, they'll find the negatives in that, and that's not very helpful to be around. You often reflect your environment, so if you surround yourself with negative people, that's not going to help.
Yeah, that's true. And also it's just about, I don't know, there's a difference between being positive and naive. Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
We have one friend. Yeah?
Yeah. We have a friend who's always quite negative and treats themselves like a victim, which I think the victim mentality is quite a big thing.
Why do you think
at the moment? Well, it seems like the more privilege you have in terms of money and health and access to material goods and possessions, the more you might blame your negative circumstances on things around you that maybe aren't there. I think that's part of it. Yeah. Yeah. Because you feel like maybe you're an underachiever or you're insecure about things. Yeah. When actually you have all the opportunities there.
It's a bit sad, isn't it?
Well, it's like the whole race thing.
What about it?
People blaming racism for everything are often in places where there's no real, well, no, there's not ever no racism, but there's no intent to be racist. Overall, most people are not racist.
Maybe you should explain to people your background.
Well, my background's very mixed. My grandfather was from Somalia.
Yeah.
My grandmother on my mother's side was Catholic, Irish background.
Yeah.
And they met in times where it wasn't a popular thing. And it was similar with my mum and dad, because my dad he grew up in Northern Ireland, and my mum was in this situation where she didn't really have a fun upbringing with a lot of racism.
Yeah. So strange.
But my mum never treated her, neither of them treated themselves like victims. And
why do you think this changed, though?
well, I think a lot of it's to do with what's happened in America over the years. And we often, what's happening in America irradiates to other areas of the globe. Because this has been like a global reaction to what's happened.
Yeah.
And also when you have a situation like a pandemic, it makes people kind of neurotic, I guess. So they gravitate to all these other protests and things. Like Extinction Rebellion. I know that was going on before, but there were other problems in society that made people want to latch on to these causes.
What about your dad? He's quite he's not very positive, is he?
Well, I think in some ways he's positive in terms of wanting to be proactive and practical with things, but he's extremely negative when it comes to things he can't control. And
he talks
emotional,
about politics
emotional
all the
things.
time, honestly.
He can't really deal with emotional things very well, but I think that's maybe quite common of that generation, especially men of that generation.
Yeah.
Just being very stoic, but also practically minded.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with being stoic.
No, it's a very good thing, but it's a time and a place. You can't be like that all the time, and you can't be emotional all the time.
Yeah.
You can't dwell on negative emotions, but sometimes it's positive to be negative and let everything out, as so long as it's a short-term thing.
Yeah.
I've definitely been negative at times, but then it's a moment in time.
How
gets
were
better.
you negative?
Well, just when I was having loads of grand mal seizures, where I was going unconscious and waking up with all these injuries to myself, and just scared and thinking that if I was going to have a seizure I might not wake up. It's kind of hard to just think positively when something like that's going on.
How did you learn to be positive?
Well, I think there was a correlation with my symptoms. So I think unless you're a complete nutcase, if you're having all these symptoms where you have something so serious that it can kill you, and you're really optimistic all the time and positive, then there's something wrong with you, because that's not normal. But it's more it's looking at things that I could do in situations where it felt like there was nothing I could do, just trying to find something.
I find it really annoying that people keep saying this thing about being positive, and I'm not really sure that they know what it means. Because if you're dealing with physical symptoms of your illness, it's not easy to be positive, you know. You can't just... It really helped me to be positive. But I wasn't always.
Well, I feel like often there are people who have no idea what you're experiencing, and they just say, oh, well...
Just fight, keep on fighting.
Yeah. Or they'll say things like...
How can you fight an illness that's here? It's in your body. You can't fight it.
Being positive definitely helps.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, just... For example, with the epilepsy I was experiencing, you can't just think it away.
No.
You can do things, and I've done things that have been very helpful with that.
Like what?
I went on a very strict ketogenic diet and did a number of other things that helped to come off the medication.
Ketogenic diet is very fashionable now, but
when I started doing it, it wasn't.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's full of, like, those products are just full of rubbish. That's not ketogenic.
What products?
Like people making money out of it. That's not...
Yeah. Now people are making a lot of money out of these convenience products. And they're not very helpful. So I had to find my own version of it at a time when it wasn't so popular.
How did it help you?
Well, it gave me a lot more energy, for one. And I had quite bad headaches at the time, and it helped with that. And it helped with the epilepsy. I stopped having the more serious seizures. And it helped me to come off the medication.
You're not that strict now, though, are you?
No, not anywhere near as strict as I used to be. But I don't think that's sustainable, how strict I was doing it, because I lost a lot of weight.
He cooks really well, so I cook much better, but he cooks really well.
I'm not going to argue with that, because you're a woman, so...
That's a bit sexist, isn't it?
It's true.
My dad is a really good cook, but he's a bit neurotic, so...
I'm saying I'm not going to argue because you just don't argue with...
Men?
I don't want to argue with you about that. I don't want you to say that I'm mansplaining. I know you wouldn't do that, but someone might think that.
Okay.
It's the thing, just being negative against men.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's a certain subsection of people who, again, just want to blame other people for, or groups of people, divide people by putting them into groups.
Yeah.
It's not helpful. It doesn't bring us all together. It causes further division.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think some men can be assholes. I think that.
But so can some women.
Of course. Everyone can be an asshole.
Yeah.
But proportionately, men are those that are causing wars and so on, and they're just more aggressive.
Well, possibly.
Yeah.
But
anyways,
it's hard
that's
to...
the talk about positivity. Is there anything else?
Well, I like to go for walks just to clear my mind. Otherwise, I think I'd go mad, especially at this time with this whole... I'd say it's this whole pandemic, but it's more the response to the pandemic.
I do a lot of meditation and mindfulness also. Let's talk about it another time.
Well, you can talk about it now. What helps you with that? Because mindfulness is like a big thing.
Breathing, and don't say it's a big thing.
Well, it's cool and trendy at the moment.
Yeah.
And people haven't really defined it properly, I don't think.
Yeah, it helped me a lot.
It can mean so many things. What does it actually mean?
Yeah. Mindfulness. I don't know what it means. It's more meditation. It's about focusing and breathing. focusing on the moment, thinking about the moment, because it's normal to not to think about things, you know. I had my mom telling me, I can't focus on nothing, and I kept telling her that's not how you meditate. She's really good, my mom, by the way.
Well, I think that's a misconception, that if you're meditating, you're just sat in a room and just kind of brain dead, not thinking about anything.
They say that you should be able to meditate in a loud room. If you can't do it, then you're not meditating. What are we gonna have for dinner today?
What were we gonna have? I can't remember.
You can't remember?
Scallops.
Oh yes, scallops. Yeah.
Good for the brain.
They say that, yeah.
I say that too. I'm the authority on this.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No.
No?
No.
You want to make some more inappropriate jokes?
It's just at the beginning of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.